Have y'all seen Parent Trap? You can always use your fingers. This one also blends really well. Just a little short guy. Okay, that was my blonde moment for the day. Hello everybody. So I got several questions about what different makeup brushes are used for, or different ways to use different brushes, if that makes sense. Please excuse the mess that is my hair. It is raining out here in the desert, which it never does, so it's just kind of, you know, doing its own thing, but we're gonna roll with it. Okay, so what I wanted to do was do a makeup brush breakdown and explain what different makeup brushes are used for and the ones that I believe everybody should have in their kit. So I am just gonna jump right into it. So for face brushes, this one right here is a flat kabuki brush. This type of brush right here, really short, really dense, like stippling type brushes are really good for foundation. Another brush that's really good for foundation is, it's a little bit flatter, and I actually don't think I have one anymore, but okay, we use this. This is an eyeshadow brush, but it would be like the same shape and texture, just a lot bigger. But a brush that's kind of shaped like this in size would also be good for foundation. My personal preference is the ones that are like this, because they pick up enough product to put on your face and they don't hold a lot of product, so it's not getting wasted, and it gives a really smooth, even coverage all over the surface of your face. So a flat kabuki brush like this that's dense and short, that would be used for your foundation. For powder, there's so many different kinds of powder brushes, but just any really kind of big fluffy brush that's like this, just that can cover like large surfaces all at one time, those are great for powder. This one is from Real Techniques and it's really good. I also have this one from Coastal Scents, and I love the shape of it, but this one sheds really bad. This one doesn't. This is another one. This is actually a blush brush, but you could use this for powder because it is so big that it can cover just a whole lot of surface. For concealer, if you are covering up a big area, for example, if you put concealer under your eyes or maybe all over your chin or down your nose or something like that, a brush like this would be really good to blend that. Or you could use like a beauty blender sponge, and again, this one is from Ulta, so it's not an actual beauty blender, but it's close enough. But anything like this is really good for blending concealer, especially if you can find one with a point like this, because this is really good for getting under your eyes. And then this one, the reason I like this is because it has a point, but it also has like a flat surface, which is really good for dabbing like your chin or your forehead or down your nose or anything like that. This is a really good brush. This one is also from Sigma. This is the Tapered Kabuki F86. This one's really good because if you put a lot of concealer under your eyes, this one will pick up any extra product so that it's not like caked on your face. But this one also blends really well, and again, this one's kind of like misshaped because I've been using it so much. I need to wash it, but this is the Tapered Kabuki brush, and again, this is like just short and really dense. Now, if you are using concealer on, say, if you have a breakout or any kind of little spot that's a really small surface, you need a brush. Let's see if I can find it. I brought like all of my brushes, so you're gonna have to give me a second to dig for them. But this is actually a concealer brush, and this is from Sephora, but any brush that's shaped like this, that's really thin and really flat, like you can see how thin and flat this is really good for just dabbing little spots and little areas and things like that. Blush brushes, those are pretty much self-explanatory. Any brush that is used for blush that's not as big as a powder brush, but not as small as an eyeshadow brush, obviously, you can use that for blush. My favorites are this right here, and this is there's no name on it. Sorry, but this is just a little, it's like a fluffy angled brush. I like this for blush because it can get on the cheekbones really well and just kind of sculpt those out. I also have this is just a bigger fluffy brush, but it's not as big as a powder brush. You can kind of see the difference here. This is bigger, but not as big as this. So this is another really good for brush for blush. If you wanted something really small, like this is a tapered blush brush from Bare Minerals. This is good for blush, but it's really small. So if you just want a really sculpted out contoured look for your cheek, this would do really good just to get right there on those cheekbones. But this is not going to cover as much surface as, say, one like this, where it can just, you know, put blush over your whole entire cheek. So I think that is it. Oh, one more for your face, for a face brush. A fan brush, is really good for highlighting. Sigma has another brush that's really good for a highlighter, and I don't remember the number of it, but this right here, just a really thin fan brush, is really good for highlighting because you can just kind of wipe right here on your cheekbones, down the center of your nose, on your chin if you want, things like that. So again, fan brush, good for highlighting. Okay, on to eyeshadow brushes. So there are literally a cajillion different kinds of eyeshadow brushes. If you're really super into makeup, then go for it, splurge, get whatever you want. But for the day-to-day basis, you don't need that many brushes for your eyeshadows. But what I'm going to do is go through and explain what each of them are for, like what each different shape is for, and then I'll tell you the ones that I think, if you have brushes, that everyone should own. Okay, so the first is a flat shading brush like this. This is from Sigma. It's the E25 Eye Shading. And you can see it's just really, it's not super thin, but it's not like a fat, fluffy brush. I use this one to pick up product that I want to put all over my lid. And I like this one, again, because it holds that product. It places it really well on your eyelid, and it doesn't give a whole lot of fallout. The next one is a big, fat, fluffy brush. It looks like this. This is the Sigma E40, and this is the Tapered Blending Brush. The reason that this is amazing for everyday use is because anything that you would put from your lower crease up to your brow bone just as a lighter transition color, this is really, really good for. This is also really good for after you put your shadow on your lid, your crease, anywhere on your eye, blend it out. You can use this clean, you can put more transition color product on it, anything like that. This is really good to just blend all those eyeshadows out along your crease and your lid so that there's no harsh lines. So again, just a big fat fluffy brush is great for everyday use and your crease and your transition color. The next one, the E25 Blending Brush. It is fluffy, but it's not as fluffy as the last one I just showed you. It's a little bit thinner, and I'll actually compare these two so you can see. This one right here is way more rounded and fluffy, whereas this one has more of a, not a rectangle, but sort of. Like, it's not as round as this one. This one is good for if you want to deepen your crease, if you want to add a little bit darker color just to define that crease area. This one's really good for that because it fits just right there in your crease. So it's not going to cover as much area as the big fat fluffy brush. It's not going to cover that whole crease area up to your brow bone. This is just going to get right there in your crease. Any brush that's like this, or this, so like the shading brush that I showed you, the first one that I showed you, or a brush like this, this one almost looks like the concealer brush, but this one's not. This one's from Urban Decay, but it's still really thin and it's really smooth. Either of these are really good for your brow bone highlight. You can either use that for your inner corner highlight, or I have this really, really small brush, and there's no like name or number on this, so I'm not sure what it is, but it's just a tiny brush. This is actually really good for if you want to get something like right in your crease, or maybe on the outer corner of your eye. You want to place this very specifically somewhere. This one's good for that. The other thing that I like to use this for is to highlight my inner corner right in here. Another one for under your eyes would be this right here, and this is just flat. It's very smooth, very flat, very square shape. This is really good for getting like the dark line right into your lash line. This one is good for that. The pencil brush is good for after you place that darker color, if you want a lighter color to blend, or if you just want to smooth out that darker color. This is really good for all under your eye to just blend that color out and smooth it that way. So for under eyes, precision eyeliner brush, and then a fluffier pencil brush for blending. If you use gel liner, or even if you use like a liquid liner or a pencil liner or anything like that, and you want to smooth it out and make it not as harsh, you need a small angled brush. You can find these at craft stores. You can find these pretty much anywhere. This one is also from Sigma. It's an E65 small angle brush. This one again is really good for like if I use gel liner just to get right there into my lash line. Or a lot of times if I use a pencil, I can't get the pencil super smooth, so what I'll do is I'll just kind of dab the pencil across my lash line, and then I'll use this brush to smooth everything out. This is a smudging brush. This is just a little just a little short guy. It's really, really dense, really thick. This can be used for smudging anywhere. I actually use this for under my eye after I put my color in. I'll use this sometimes if I need to go really dark, and I'll just kind of smudge under the eye and then use the pencil brush to blend it out. For eyeshadow brushes, these are pretty much the ones that I use on a daily basis. Obviously, if I'm doing some kind of different makeup look, then I'll use other ones that I have, but just for what I do on an everyday basis, these are the ones I use. They are the big fat fluffy brush, the little smaller blending brush that's good for defining your crease, the shading brush that's good for placing that color on your lid, the pencil brush for lower lash line, and then the angled eyeliner brush for smoothing out your eyeliner. Have y'all seen Parent Trap whenever they take her out camping and tell her that there's like cougars or something? I don't remember what it is, and she's walking around with the sticks. That's what that reminds me of. Okay, that was my blonde moment for the day. And then for face brushes, the ones that I personally use on an everyday basis are the flat Kabuki brush for foundation, and then this one, the Tapered Kabuki brush for concealer. I use a big fat powder brush, and then I use this little angle guy right here for blush. And I think that, oh, I almost left a good one out. Oh. This is from Real Techniques, and this is a setting brush. Sigma also has one like this. It's really good, but I already had this one, and there's really no point in having both of them. But this one is really good for setting your under eye concealer. I have the MAC Pro Emphasize, the sculpting powder, and I do that to use to brighten under your eyes. So like I'll do my concealer, and then I'll dip this and that, and then just kind of go under my eyes and down in a V shape to set that concealer that way. That is pretty much it. Those are the ones that I personally use on a day-to-day basis and that I think you should have in your brush kit because they're very basic, very simple. You can use brushes for all kinds of different things, and you can always use your fingers. So yeah, I hope that this video was super helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you so much for watching, and have a great week. Mwah!
If I could stop eating my hair, that would be awesome.
And I just dropped them everywhere. I've had, oh my gosh.
Hello, don't you know I'm filming? I'm chopping my hair off. Just kidding, I've grown this out for like a year and a half and it's not getting chopped off.
Brush for blush, blush brush. Blech. Oh.